There's this ongoing thread going with Isaac Cappy on Twitter talking about Cappy, members of the Famalam. Thomas is in there, Wyatt Earp is in there, and lots of people coming and going. New characters enter the conversation, and there seem to be a bunch of attacks, and that's what's been going on there in the last couple of weeks. The Famalam decided to block a whole bunch of people, and then these new people show up. Now, this dude, Bruce Banner 5280, he's actually pretty cool. I've got no beef with that guy. He was just giving random rants of Ryan shit, but anyway, as soon as these new characters came into the conversation, including random rants of Ryan, suddenly we started seeing all these kinds of thread sliding techniques. And this is the documents part of Snowden's revelations, which was basically from GCHQ, Great Britain, talking about their cyber trolls, and that this is what the cyber trolls are trying to do. They identify and exploit fracture points between people, and they find the things that push a group together, like shared opposition, like everybody hates pedos. We can come together for Pizzagate. Shared ideology, patriotism, Second Amendment, freedom of speech, common beliefs, right? All of these things. Let's unite everyone around that, and you get QAnon, you get Pizzagate. And then things that pull a group apart: personal power, pre-existing cleavages, competition, and ideological differences. So when these new characters enter these threads, they start doing these kind of things to disrupt them. And this is a very interesting thing from the document, that it's saying that they want to build cyber magicians. That's what we're dealing with. These online trolls, it's not necessarily an individual that you're talking to. It's like a whole bunch of different accounts. Maybe 50, 100 accounts being run by computer systems, maybe more. Maybe some bot, some human, a combination of both intervening. And then who's the master driving all of these things? Sowing dissent, trying to drive wedges between people, causing attacks, challenging people's credibility. Well, they're the cyber magicians. So, when Jason Goodman talks about social engineers all the time, his great enemy is these social engineers. But, my series with Jan Irvin, my final part of it on Burning Man, it's more than 5 hours long. I recommend you watch it if you haven't seen it, as long as it is, part 7. And if you fast forward past the first 2 hours, it's not even about Burning Man. It's really about this stuff, what's going on, in the online world: secret societies, games, puzzles, LARPing, character assassinations, gang stalking, all this type of stuff. This is intelligence agencies that are building this and bringing it to us, right? And not only intelligence agencies, but secret societies as well. And so, that's some of what I think we're dealing with here. And then this massive slide, it says magic techniques and experiments. So the cyber magicians, these are the magic techniques that they do, and they look deeply into everyone, how to influence behavior, personality groups, virtual communities, social identity theory, social proof, motives, building relationships, mirroring and mimicry, propaganda, branding, marketing. It goes all the way along there to the diffusion of innovation model, which is a thing called crossing the chasm, which is very popular in Silicon Valley. It's the idea that when a new technology or idea comes out, it initially goes to some pioneers, and then there's a wave of early adopters. But before it jumps from the early adopters to mainstream society, it has to cross this great chasm. So there's plenty of technologies that just didn't make acceptance as, massive consumer successes. And that's kind of, if you look at what happened with QAnon and Pizzagate as PSYOPs, those ones were able to cross the chasm and get into the mainstream. So most of these PSYOPs don't manage to do that. But it's very interesting that on this secret slide from British GCHQ about how they do PSYOPs on the internet, they are looking at specifically this diffusion of innovation model, and that's the target is not messing just with one person's mind. They want to mess with everybody's mind at once, and on an individual, on a macro level. And remember, this is some of the stuff that Tracy Twyman was talking about shortly before her death, and I'm going to mention some things to do with her a little bit later. why can't I bring this one up? Here we go. And so the gambits for deception, Defango's always going on about Unirock's gambit or whoever else's gambit. Well, yeah, this is what this is the magician's tricks. All these different gambits, dazzle, decoy, control attention, with conspicuity and expectancies. There's a matrix there of attention, perception, sense making. They're trying to create physiological effects and cognitive stress. They can simulate actions and outcomes. I'm not even sure what time shift perceived behavior means, but we keep hearing about this time phone hack coming from some of these alt media channels. I mean, is that what they're talking about? And divorce behavior from outcomes. So, there are people out there working to this playbook, working for governments, sure, but there are also private individuals and corporations and networks, very likely people in secret societies, that are working to this playbook as well. And they are, if you want to ask me who's behind the LARPs on the internet, I wouldn't point to like one dude. I would point to these secret societies and these systems of lodges. So, that's sort of the intro. And here's some of the tactics that they use to control the narrative. Jassy Joe, I will post all the links later, but it's Shadow History of Burners Part 7. And you can find it on Crypto Beast and also at Logos Media. The tactics to control the narrative: deleting comments, blocking, then attacking. I mean, we're very familiar with this kind of stuff from Jason Goodman, from Jan Irvin, from Craig Sawyer, from Gabe Hoffman. Hoffman in particular, he's notorious for blocking everybody. But if you block him back, which you need to do, if someone blocks you, you should go and block them back, because if you don't, they can still try to get your account shut down and report you, right? So if they are blocking you, that's a hostile act. And you should retaliate with a block equally, and that's what happened when an open secret blocked me, and when Craig Sawyer blocked me as well. Right? But I'm not just talking about blocks on social media. Like, if you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. Go ahead and block me. But if you look at the comments, say for example, to Crowdsource the Truth or for Logos Media, you'll see the negative comments all get deleted. And they on their show bashing me recently, they talked about, supposedly I use these armies of trolls, and so does Joe Atwill. I mean, in the same breath, Jan is saying that Joe can't operate a microphone or headphones, but supposedly he's using the most sophisticated PSYOP technology of GCHQ just to, leave comments on Jan's YouTube videos that Jan's going to then go and delete. This is the most ridiculous shit I've ever heard, right? I mean, what happened to the Trivium? The Trivium's gone way out the window. About a year ago, the Trivium went away. But anyway, that's what they'll do. They'll block you so that you can't comment. You can just kick that fucking Doubting Thomas account. People, that guy's a dick. And they will not. Yeah, by eliminating your comments, they eliminate you from the dialogue, and they're trying to do that to shape the narrative. Now, if people are trolling me or trying to cause disruption in my stream, in my community, I'm quite happy to kick them off. They don't have to go forever. And then on Twitter, sometimes I block people. Sometimes, when I cool down a bit, I unblock them. As I'm getting more and more followers and my account's getting bigger and bigger, I am being forced to block people more and more. And, I don't have as many followers as an Open Secret and Craig Sawyer and Jason Goodman, So, perhaps there's a genuine reason for them to block. But deleting all the comments, there can't be any negative comment in chat. As soon as someone asks a question, kick them out. Fuck that, right? That's against the rules of open dialogue. But look, in this show today, I've got quite a lot of information to go in, so I'm not going to be interacting with you guys in the chat too much. But got a lot of mods there, all great people. I think I've run out of making mods, so no offense if you haven't been modded yet. I think I'm at the maximum number. And then the next thing is doxing, right? And so you can talk whatever shit about me that you want, right? You want to call me names, you don't like my research, don't like my videos or my appearance, fine, go to the internet and say that. The internet is a free speech, it's freedom of speech. I understand that I'm a public figure, I'm here on a show under my real name, using Twitter under my real name, I guess the show's Crypto Beast, but still everybody, I am Steve Outtrim. I'm not trying to hide that or be an anon or anything like that. There are real-world consequences to people slandering my good name. I've spent a lifetime building a reputation. I've been very successful in my life. My wife and I are very involved in philanthropy, and that's basically how we spend our time these days. And I actually consider what I do on the internet and this and YouTube and everything part of my philanthropy. It started as an art project with Burning Man, that I'd attended Burning Man so many times, but I'd never really made an art project or given something to the community. So I wanted to do that. And what could I do? Well, I could, write and make a website. So that was my gift to the Burning Man community. And as I studied it, and I found, not only did I discover more and more truths about this organization and how it was interwoven with Silicon Valley and how the occult was interwoven with Silicon Valley as I was doing this, but I also noticed starting to get under attack by these teams of trolls and all of these techniques and tactics here. And so this is, an important skill to learn, I think, in discernment and how to sift your way through all of the bullshit on the internet to get to the truth, is you have to be able to spot the patterns and spot when it's like, it's a similar narrative, it's a similar tactics, it's similar timing. In 24 hours, or within 1 week, whole bunch of different accounts came out and attacked me with the exact same narrative, at the same time. And for the most recent one, for example, is anti-Semitism, which is completely untrue. Like Jan Irvin, for example, I flew him up to San Francisco. I paid for his flight. I put him up in a motel, which in Marin County, motel isn't cheap. And, bought him lunch, bought him dinner, put Joe Atwell up as well. And we had a whole day kind of brainstorming session at my house. This is before we did the 50 years of flower power video with Hans Utter, celebrating or commemorating the 50th anniversary of the human being that kicked off the whole summer of love and the entire flower power concept that has become the defining culture of our modern times. That's the social engineering, the Frankfurt School. That's the type of shit we were talking about. Social engineering was the Frankfurt School. That's what they're doing. And that's why I called this episode with Jan, Part 7, Social Engineering on the Electronic Frontier. There's an Electronic Frontier Foundation, and that was set up and founded by many of the same people who were around at the beginning of Burning Man. And, they're there fighting for our electronic rights. And because they're there fighting for our rights, we don't have to worry about doing it for ourselves, because the EFF will take care of it. Classic thing of controlled opposition. So that's sort of the stuff I talk about in that Part 7. But, doxing, like I'm saying, say whatever you want about me, but when you start bringing my family into it, you can bet I'm going to retaliate, and you can bet I'm going to give you a fucking copyright strike. And if I get your entire channel shut down and deplatformed from the internet, I'll be happy about it. Leave my fucking family out of it. Seriously. Jason Goodman, Jan Irvin, Gabe Hoffman. How can you people bring somebody's family into this? Someone's wife, who's not a public figure. She's not on the internet. She's a very private person. And they took a photograph from her Facebook, which, because she'd posted it to her Facebook, friends only, and I'd liked it, it went on my timeline for my friends only. Now, at the time that it was posted, Jan Irvin was a friend of mine on Facebook. So that's the most likely source of the photo. But we went and checked, and I had 6 mutual friends with Jason Goodman. People that over the course of time as researchers, or fellow researchers, I would think, I've got to know these people on the internet. So I accepted their friend request. And, it could have been any one of them passing this private photo on. So I had to unfriend all of them. And, if you were unfriended by me, don't take it personally. That's why it happened. And I still had one mutual friend with Jan Irvin as well. So you can't do that. You can't go to someone's Facebook, to the stuff that's friends only, and put that on your YouTube channel and show that photo for 2 minutes. And they didn't even discuss the photo. All they did was make disgusting, horrific comments about my wife. I watched it with her, and she was devastated. She was afraid for her life. She's crying, like, and what's this for, right? Because I've dared to challenge them. Like in the case of Jan Irvin, he said that Joe Atwell's a Jesuit spy because Joe wouldn't accept his alternative Russian history theories of Fomenko. And I said, well, can you show me some evidence? Where's your citation for some disinformation that Joe ever did in the 6 years or whatever it shows you guys did together? which I used to watch religiously. And rather than show the citation for why this was true, Jan then, turns on me as well, and suddenly I'm this fucking CIA agent, and, everyone's a CIA agent and all this type of shit, right? But I didn't dox his wife. I didn't dox his kid. He can talk whatever fucking shit he wants about me, right? I'll let him run his mouth. For more than a year, I'll let that guy run his mouth. And Jason Goodman as well, he started this. I was just asking questions and comments to his videos that he was doing with George Webb, because I watched George Webb when Jason came on the scene. That's how I found out about the guy. That's how most of us did, He basically goes and he absorbs these channels. Able Danger, there's another one. He's just trying to be like the Borg, absorb all these channels to grow. But, I asked these questions and he starts posting this like fucking fake news shit from Murdoch phone hacking, saying that I have gout and shit like that. I mean, imagine if I did have gout, then he's posting my private medical condition to the internet. That's doxing, right? Straight away, just for questioning, boom, you get doxed. And, he wouldn't do that anymore. You'd just get deplatformed and banned for life from the channel to never be able to question again. But, lucky for me, I don't have gout and I've never been diagnosed with it. So it's just a funny joke. Like, this chick sues me for $3 million, makes up whatever shit she wants. Who cares? Anyway, coming back to this. So you've got your terms of service violations trying to get you shut down from Twitter, lawsuits, gaslighting, disinformation, and the strategy attention stuff that I showed before. So anyway, part of the video that Jason and Jan did was Jason invited me to sue him, just like he did with Dave Acton. He said, if Dave Acton doesn't like this, if he thinks anything I'm saying is false, I invite him to come and sue me. And now look at that. He's deep into a lawsuit with Dave Acton that from the moment it began, he said it's a fake lawsuit, even though he invited it. And so then he made the same invitation to me while attacking my family and doxing my family. And he also accused me of murder. Jan asked Jason, do you think Steve was involved in the murder of Isaac Cappy? And Jason's immediate response is absolutely. Now, first of all, we've got the police report, we've got the fucking toxicology, we've got the body cam footage, we've got the dash cam footage, Shout out to Phoenix Enigma for collecting all of that stuff. That's some, pretty solid evidence of Isaac Cappy's death. Now, within 20 minutes of his death, the police ruled it a suicide. And within a couple of hours, the same narrative crew come out, all pushing their narrative of certain people being responsible for this guy's death, even though it's been ruled a suicide by the police. But all the way through, everybody else, like all the documentation is to suicide. So how could I possibly have murdered him? But not only that, I'm in New Zealand. The guy's in fucking Arizona. How am I supposed to murder this suicide victim in Arizona? I mean, I never had any interactions with Cappy. I mean, maybe I commented on his periscopes a couple of times. I can't remember. I would think probably I did, because I remember watching his periscopes and I comment in YouTube chats, You got to be careful even with that these days, because there's all these channels waiting to just snip any comment they can, take it out of context, and then insert it into the context of their own narrative. That's one of the other techniques of this crew. But anyway, so I did not murder Isaac Cappy, and I'm happy to take a lie detector test about that, Jan and Jason. But you can't just go around accusing people of capital crimes. I mean, I played that clip at the opening of Jason Goodman saying, talking about that specific thing and saying that's what's going on now. So he's either the biggest hypocrite in the world, which both of those people are, or completely unaware of, what he's saying and, how it fits into his own actions and behaviour, which I highly doubt. Or it's actually some sort of, magical double speak that, they're telling you in plain sight what they're doing. And they're trying to make it sound like, we're the ones against it. But in fact, if you listen to the words carefully, they're telling you that's what they're doing. So anyway, I took up Jason's invitation and I wrote a letter to the magistrate judge in the Southern District of New York asking for his permission to intervene as a co-plaintiff in Dave Acton's case against him. And, this sort of organised operation of slander against me is very similar to this organised operation of slander against Dave. I think that maybe it will be good and useful for Dave, because some of these things just seem so clear cut. how can you murder someone who committed suicide? So, and what's, talk about defamation per se, what is more offensive than calling someone a murderer? I guess calling them a pedo, but these guys have done that as well, So, and then they also said that I've been involved in money laundering because I have a cryptocurrency exchange. And, in the breath when he's saying that, first of all, I don't have a cryptocurrency exchange. That was a project that never got off the ground. But in the breath they're discussing it, they talk about my licenses from the government of Estonia Financial Markets Authority to operate a cryptocurrency exchange and to create cryptocurrencies and operate cryptocurrency wallets. So, Estonia is an EU country. It's a member of NATO. It has an extremely respected banking system. And anyone can become a cyber resident of Estonia. There's about 50,000 of us, I think. And once you are, you can open a company there and you can apply for a crypto license. But not anyone can get that license. You have to be vetted by the Financial Markets Authority of an EU and NATO country, completely existing in the world banking system. So part of having to do that is detailed anti-money laundering procedures, right? Which I've had to sign on to and agree to operate by. So, there's another case of defamation per se, just like with Dave Acton being targeted at my professional career and reputation, designed and calculated to do the most financial damage. And there's a whole bunch of other things. I'm not going to get into the case, but I just did want to let you guys know that's what's going on. And then Goodman, there is an extensive update to my post, Insane in the Ukraine. It's called Part 3, Sheep Dipping the Truther. And my buddy Barkus, who was present with Joe Atwell and myself and Jan Irvin for the whole day strategy session that we were talking about, my Jewish attorney, I call him my Samoan attorney because that's in Hunter S. Thompson, but he's actually Jewish, and my very, very dear friend. I have many very dear friends who are Jewish, who will quite happily come on the stream with me and, laugh at how I don't like the Likud party, laugh at how I think a two-state solution is the right way forward for the Middle East, laugh at how I can support a nationhood for the Palestinians and support Israel's alliance with Saudi Arabia at the same time, Give me shit because I like Trump. They love Israel but hate Trump, Or there's people that love Trump and Israel, whatever, whatever. I'm against Zionism. I think the political movement of Zionism is not a good thing for the world. But I looking at the broader picture of Western expansion and imperialism versus the alternatives, I think there's a lot to be said for Western imperialism. Just not the way that it's been done by the United States to, decimate these nations and create these banana republics ruled by ISIS-type terrorists. That's terrible. But if we could have a thing like Western Europe and the rest of the world, that would be a great way forward for humanity. So, the Israel project, see my Crypto Beast 11 with Jay, we talk and go deep into the origins of this in the 1800s. This is a long-standing thing. This is a great game of world affairs that's going on. And so I actually tried to video myself scrolling through the story the other day, and just to scroll through the story to the bottom took 5 minutes. So I'm not going to do that, but I will just show you this one photo while we're here. But look, this is the type of stuff I'm posting, right? Like New York Department of State, company registrations, going to the Internet Archive, going through his website, LinkedIn. I mean, this is evidence, right? Do you want to challenge my evidence? He's welcome to have other evidence that he can present. He's the guy who did all this, so he actually has the evidence. I have to go dig for it and release it. But when you look at Hollywood, right? This thing here. So Carol Co. that made Terminator, and they made Iron Eagle 2 with the Israeli Defense Force. He was put on their board for this basically takeover back in 2014, and now the company just spent $200 million to acquire an artificial intelligence business. So, what's going on with that? But anyway, describing Goodman, they say he's a 3-time Lumiere award-winning innovator of motion picture capture. And then here he is with these photos. I got the Lumiere Award, but my source who sent me a lot of this stuff, I've checked it all out. I've posted the links to it yourself. You come and check it out too. You tell me if you think that this makes sense or not. But they can't find Jason Goodman's name on the list of awards for the year where supposedly he was getting them. So look, if he's got these awards, post the links, show us. But likewise with these credits, right? IMDb, when you're in Hollywood, he says he's been in Hollywood from 92 or 93 or 94. There's various versions of the story. Like myself, I remember what year I moved from New Zealand to Australia. I remember what year I started my internet company, what year I took it public, what year I retired from it. My resume doesn't change over time. But this is a sign of these lifetime actors that the resume changes over time. So there's not a single credit for any work between 1992 and 2009, and the company 21st Century 3D, they had an LA office in this time period. So it's highly suspicious. What the fuck were they doing, right? And there's a couple of other Jason Goodmans in Hollywood. There's a Jason Goodman in the FBI in New York, Special Agent Jason Goodman, working with Eric Holder. But this guy, Jason Goodman, Sergeant Jason Goodman of Morristown, he just, I don't know. You tell me, I'm asking people to say in the comments, like, do you think that that's the same dude or not? And so far it's 100% saying, yeah, that's the same dude. So yeah, let me know in the comments as well. But yeah, this post goes on. We talk about the Ukraine, the idea of having a second Israel in Ukraine. We talk about his patron and mentor, Dr. Corsi. We go through the other people involved in this drone flight over Chernobyl. Kevin Marsden was able to get the pilot of the drone to specifically acknowledge that the whole Ericini crew was there as they made the film, and they were there for the revolution as well, not just there filming for the Chernobyl. And then we've got this other mentor that my source Raven has uncovered called John Rupp Kelvis. And he's got an 80-page resume, and he did the Viking Mars lander and developed virtual reality technology for the US Army. So here's how you can see that if indeed Jason Goodman was sheep-dipped into Hollywood, this might be how it would have happened. He's in the Army. This guy's running a virtual reality project in the Army. He seems like a keen, really interesting guy, wants to learn more about the different cameras and that. So Rupp Kelvis starts inviting him to more and more Hollywood things, gets him some experience on set, surrounds him with other people that know how to make movies, and then he gets those credits in IMDb, and so he's got his chops for his cover story as they're flying this drone around the world in Dubai and Ukraine and Sweden and wherever else they're taking it. He's got this sort of Hollywood cover story, and they're now coming into Crowdsource the Truth. He's like, well, I've got this great Hollywood background. And a lot of his guests talk about that all the time. And then the final thing about this one that's interesting to mention. Oh shit! Sorry, it's scrolling down the whole 80 pages. So I'm not just talking about this is a theory. We're providing evidence, like here's video of him with these people and not operating the cameras, right? And of course he's saying he has above Israeli intelligence, and they deem Alex Jones kosher. That's a good clip, that one. Jason and George Webb in Corsi's office. This is right before the dirty bomb plot. Is the Israel Fund. Corsi pissed off a Rockefeller, and then the Rockefeller actually wrote a letter to Special Counsel Mueller, and so that Corsi trial is going on right now. But these guys are one step removed from this whole thing, WikiLeaks, Spygate, everything. And in my blog here, I'm really starting to unpack this stuff. Ken Stranahan, Lee Stranahan's brother, he was working for 21st Century 3D in 1996. The problem with that is that even in Jason's earliest telling of the story, 1999 is when the company started. So, there's another one as their resume changes. But there's all these Serbians. This guy, he's the social media guy for Crowdsource, also for 21st Century 3D. And then the same time that Jason and his mates are flying these drones around Ukraine, he starts his drone company. He does a Kickstarter. They beat their goal. They do 2 Kickstarters and a seed round. So they've raised just under a couple of $1 million. And look at their client list. U.S. Air Force, they won a Golden Ticket award. U.S. Navy, USAF Department of Defense, Israel, Thailand, Japan, Central Africa, right? So these guys are not just doing drones, they're doing drones with the Air Force and the Navy. They have a mostly Serbian team. So 21st Century 3D was filled with these Serbians. Was that a cover story for them as well? I don't know. But anyway, their Serbian social media guy goes and starts this drone company with $2 million, gets all those clients, and then he gets all these people to join the board. Lieutenant Colonel, Israeli Air Force, 30 years service, Israeli Air Force, 43 years Qantas, 26 years Israeli Air Force, 26 years Israeli Air Force, 26 years Israeli Air Force. So why is it all these people 26 years of the Israeli Air Force? It sounds like there was some super elite Israeli project that started 26 years ago, and all the dudes from it are now on the board of directors of Jason Goodman's social media guy, who's a Serbian now flying all these drones. And so here's some of these other Serbians. You know, this lady, Milena, she's there when Jason is doing this world record-setting drone flight, even though she hasn't worked for 21st Century 3D for a few years at that point. This guy here, Jeff Pierce, is another one. Doesn't work for Jason, but he's there and may have even crossed the country to be at this flight. And he's actually working for the Department of Defense now, what he's doing as well. It's codec developed for the DoD that they're spinning out into the commercial sector. And this is who Raven thinks really did the actual work for 21st Century 3D, this guy Steve Baker. NYU unites all of these people. You know, guess who else went to NYU? A certain fund manager. And then, what do you know? Jan Irvin has all these connections to Serbia as well. He lived in Serbia around the time of the war there. He was married to a Serbian. He was a registered foreign agent, I guess, registered as an agent and business contact for the American-Serbian Association for Peace. And both Jan and Jason Goodman have been on InfoWars. Jason's been 2 times that I'm aware of, and Jan's been, 4 times, 5 times. You know, he was very buddy-buddy with Alex for a little while, but then it seemed like Alex was just using him to attack Joe Rogan and then made up with Joe Rogan. The whole story of Jan Irvin and Joe Rogan and Alex Jones and being intertwined, it's very, very interesting. You know, Jan claims that they wanted him to be the next Timothy Leary, but he didn't want to play along, and so they gave that position to Joe Rogan instead. And now Joe has the world's biggest podcast. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I suspect it's not true, but that's a story from Jan Irvin about this. You know, these people do seem to be very, very Zionist friendly, and they are attacking me with being anti-Semitic. Complete fucking lie. And, you know, who do we know attacks people with being anti-Semitic? The freaking Zionists. So, you know, there's some backstory to all of this. Now, let's go. Jan Irvin, when appealed to... Okay, this is great. So, I don't know if I'll play all this clip. I don't think Yogi will mind me playing this. The only thing is I don't know if the track itself is someone else.
Hey, John, how you doing? This is Jesse Spots, and I'm recording this. Are you okay with that?
I'm recording you too.
Cool. It's been brought to my attention by people. You're currently working on a smear campaign going through my clips to paint me as a neo-Nazi. Is that correct?
Now, paint him as a neo-Nazi. Now, that's the exact same thing that they've been trying to do with me as well. Like, in that video of Jan and Jason, they specifically said I'm a neo-Nazi. They said I'm a white supremacist. You know, and then in the same breath that they're saying that, they mentioned the name of my Jewish Indian wife. You know, her stepmother is Jewish. 2 of her siblings are Jewish. And she's of Indian descent. So what sort of fucking, you know, neo-Nazi, anti-Jew, white supremacist marries a half-Jewish Indian, you know? Anyway, it's ridiculous. But obviously they're doing this type of thing to Jesse Spots as well. You know, they will attack anybody who challenges their narrative.
We sent you the citation. Send it back into the citation. Why don't you just check the citation? Primary citation. Primary citation. Primary citation. If you had a way, you would have checked the citation. Primary citation. Primary citation.
I guess the Citations a car. We don't have that car in Australia and New Zealand, so I'm not familiar with that. But I guess we'll just do a little bit to go out. Yeah, so that's Yogi to Lord. Follow that channel. Great channel there. Okay, so then let's move on to one of the big topics that I wanted to talk about today, which is let's go up. This was an interesting one, wasn't it? So Defango has done a big show attacking Fiona Goodman, and Justin Rondone, he says, just don't trust Gabe Bluffman, and that doesn't make me anti-Semitic. So even these people, like just ordinary people talking shit on YouTube, they're getting hit with all these same tactics as well. But Cherie CBD, Defango's handler, some people say she's his Christmas lady. Anyway, she says Justin the same. So is there some trouble within the house, some tension within the elusive man household? Did he get kicked out over this? I don't know. But anyway, that was an interesting development. And then the whole thing overall, he's talking about Fiona Barrett, not Fiona Barnett. And I thought maybe that's a Freudian slip because it's bar rent. He's like, I need to make my shekels for my bar rent. But think about it further. I think it's because it's basically a slander stream. And because they know they're going to do this slander stream, they deliberately misspell her name just to make it, kind of more preventative of any potential lawsuits there. So anyway, I want to respond to this stream and talk a little bit about Fiona Barnett and my interactions with her. So first of all, just to update you, that's right, I can't see her because I'm blocked. How am I going to do that? Okay, well, if I post it in a browser, maybe see if that works. Citations. No, it's logging me in. I don't want to log out of Twitter. So anyway, look, you can go find her on Twitter. It's Fiona Barnett EY1. And, I did when Lepo had Michael Aquino on his show, and the callers were Frank Bacon, All Seeing You, and Thomas Schoenberger. And, I called that a PSYOP fest. I did a review of it. And, I specifically mentioned in that I could see these parallels between Aquino and Thomas because the certain crew demands that you disavow these people and demonize them as much as they do themselves. And if you don't have the same level of hate and anger and contempt, and that you will publicly express for these people who you've never met, if you don't have the same one, then you're going to be called a follower and get attacked. So in that stream, and unfortunately, because I didn't have clips working, it didn't come out quite the way I wanted. I had to put it at burners.me with the full video and then the clips. And if I'd been able to play the clips as I was talking, I think it would have come out a bit different. But, if you watch the whole thing and then play the clips, I'm not praising Aquino. I said I think he probably is guilty of a lot of bad stuff, But you do have to acknowledge that he's been tried for the stuff and found not guilty. And at some point in our society, that has to mean something, right? It has to mean something that our legal system, if you are found not guilty, you can't be later on then accused of that crime. Now, maybe he is. I don't know. I don't have all the evidence for that. But because I came out and I said that, look, there's no possible way he's guilty of all of the things he's accused of. And that triggered Fiona to write these two tweets. And she's like, he's a freaking bastard, whatever. But I guess even earlier than that, the genesis of this, going back even further, of how suddenly Fiona decided to do. She'd done this to Titus as well. She said, he's a CIA piece of shit, fuck him. And later she came around and apologised. And so, look, I've tried to turn the other cheek to it. I I see Fiona as someone who's doing good work to promote the topic of satanic ritual abuse and organised pedophilia, that it does exist in the world, and there's an enormous amount of corruption within police and judicial and media around it. I see Fiona as a crusader promoting that. I see David Scherter also promoting that. Now, where I differ from some people, such as the Unirocks and the Gabes and the Fangos of the world, is they want to hear these people, these survivors of horrific abuse, they want to hear them relive it in every single excruciating detail, and then they want to go and fact-check those details. And if they find one detail that doesn't add up, then they discount everything that person ever has to say. And I actually learned this from watching Lift the Veil. You know, there was an SRA survivor on the show, I won't say who it was, but they were talking about there were fires going on in Washington State at that time. And this person said, Michael Aquino definitely set those fires. And I'm like, the dude's like in his mid-70s. He's been retired for so long. Like, how do you know that? Do you have evidence of that? Or you just hate the guy and so you say it? And this person will say, well, I was abused by them. But it's just like the common thread in a lot of these SRA people is Aquino. Like, he's just like such a lightning rod to be blamed for this shit, when really what we're dealing with is organised pedophilia, Luciferian pedo cult. And he has got above the regular world and into the world of the aristocracy. You know, he's a baron. He's on like the lowest rung of the aristocracy. So he's become one of them. And could he be like a Jimmy Savile, give an entree into that world, the hierarchy of the royalty, because he was involved in all kinds of shit that he was procuring? I mean, I don't know. Maybe. Certainly the allegations are there. Do your own research. But anyway, Fiona turned on me because of that. But more specifically, I was in a Facebook group that I've been in for a while where people have been discussing this guy, Allah High Priest. People are very concerned about Allah High Priest. And there was some internal drama in that group involving two people there. And one of the people took messages from the group and, copied them and then sent them to other people. And one of them, made its way to Fiona, of me saying that she's a murderer. And people are like, oh my God, Steve Outtrim's going around social media saying Fiona Barnett's a murderer. Doesn't he understand she's a victim? But all of this stuff, right? So, let me address that. If you read Fiona's book, she specifically talks about this. I'm just quoting stuff that's in her book, right? Now, is it true? Is it a memory that's there from hypnosis, like this false memory stuff? Is it like a side effect of abuse? Is it something that has only come out recently? I don't know, but I think that you can have a look at some of the aspects of Fiona's story and you can say, well, I don't think that can be accurate. For example, she quotes a lieutenant colonel who was named involved in psychological operations, but his name is redacted. And she says, I know for a fact that was Aquino. But he's quoted in a memo from 1956. Aquino was 8 years old then. So I'm not going to debunk Fiona point by point by point. I've turned the other cheek. I forgive her. Hopefully she will unblock me, because all I've ever done for her is help her and take a stand publicly to defend her, even when there's a risk to my own reputation. Because I do understand that some of the things she says, people can just point at it black and white and say, oh, well, that can't have happened. Right? And so by me supporting her, does that mean I endorse everything that she says? No. The world isn't like that. But I can support her. And she asked me for help to get her word out, to get her book out. I recommended to publish it as a free PDF and put it on my website, So I helped her. And then went this hit dossier that was created against her last year. This is making the rounds again. And this is the basis of DeFango's show. And interestingly, it was also tweeted out by an open secret. But just before we get into that, let's talk about this guy, Allah High Priest, because he has been in the news a bit lately. Yep, apparently he is locked up again by federal police, and he's not going to get out for a while under the Mental Health Act. He threatened the Prime Minister and was planning to storm the office. Now, I don't know who this account is. I don't know if that's true or not. I've had people trying to verify that statement, and it's at the moment, I'd say it's unverified. But he apparently hasn't been on Facebook or social media for a while. So, yeah, this guy's a freaking terrorist. I hope he did get locked up. But this MateGate thing, if you're not familiar with it, this is actually a really big deal in Australia. And this is what I think has sort of been going on with Cappy and with Fiona and with Alahai. Now, I'm not saying that Cappy and Fiona were witting participants in this. In fact, I'm going to show you something in a minute where Cappy told Fiona he thought he was being used as a patsy. But this is QAnon. QAnon is being used to attack the Prime Minister of Australia, Scott Morrison, because two accounts, Burn Spy 34 and Jesse On Your Mate, the Burn Spy is a friend of the Prime Minister and Jesse is his son. So just it's guilt by association. If you're friends with someone who follows QAnon, therefore you must be under the spell of some crazy right-wing alt-right terrorist. That's the narrative they're pushing in Australia, and they're getting away with it. And you should be aware that they try things down here. In New Zealand and Australia, they try shit out before they bring it to the rest of the world. I saw it with political correctness. They brought it into New Zealand, a rugby-loving, fishing, blokey kind of nation, and they brought massive political correctness in. Then they tried it in Australia. I thought it would never work, and I saw it. They brought it in. And then they did it in America, and I was like, there is no fucking way they're ever going to make Americans give up their pickup trucks and their American flags and their guns, you know? But under Obama, the progressives, they nearly did. They did a bloody good go of bringing this political correctness in, and you can't tell jokes like you used to, you know? So they trial shit down here, and this is a trial of using QAnon to assault people's reputation. And Alahai Priest was involved in it, and when Cappy came to Australia, you know, he cashed out 2 Bitcoin with Jason Boss. Where did that come from? Did that come from Alahai, that money? Is there somebody above, you know, these shadow brokers, these operators who has the sort of money to finance a couple of Bitcoins here, a Bitcoin there? You know, I want to get Thomas Schoenberger. Hey, DeFango, put a Bitcoin bounty out. I want to get the Prime Minister of Australia. Hey, Alahai, tell Cappy you'll give him 2 Bitcoin to pay for a trip to Australia, you know? And he can come down and stay at Fiona Barnett's house. Boom. Suddenly they got Fiona Barnett's house, right? And Fiona, she's very shrewd. She's street smart and very highly intelligent person as well. And she cottoned onto this. She wouldn't let it happen. She kicked Cappy out. And, you know, her and Cappy probably didn't end on the best of terms, but I know they had mutual respect for each other. She just saw him as someone that got sucked into the web of this guy, Alahai. So I don't know who Ronnie Salt is here, but here's what they're talking about. Thanks, brother. This is like the way Alahai talks to people. It's game over. Look, I'm preparing a message to Scott now. So once he's awake, we'll kick ass. Pfizer's so close, and that will help. So, look, you know, this is Roger Stone's friends with Trump. He calls up Trump, has a chat to him. He says, of course, he told me there's some WikiLeaks shit coming out. Is that really collusion? I mean, friends talk about this type of shit, right? Here we go. Massive connection with Scott tonight. We're moving fast, mate. We can't force, but he's awakening. This is excellent news. Thanks for letting me know. The cops never came around. They just called. So this guy, Alahai, that's, I think, him writing on the black. I don't know that for sure, okay? I just want to clarify that. But it seems to me that that's the context of this whole communication. You know, they're in contact with the police. They're in contact with the police. And it's like, when do you know the cops not to come over personally? Well, that's the kind of relationship he has. I just call them up like, yeah, g'day, mate. Yeah, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Or we were thinking about bringing you in for a drug test, or you could call this guy. You know? So this is a whole... There's a whole thread here. The PM's close friend claims he has regular access to Kirribilli House and the Prime Minister. The extremist group that befriended the PM's close friend also included the American alt-right figure Isaac Cappy, who committed suicide in May this year. Right? So this is the plot. They weaponized Cappy as a patsy to go in the name of QAnon and take down the Australian Prime Minister. And you also need to understand that Australia changes Prime Ministers all the time. We don't have to have an election to have a new Prime Minister. They get kicked out for whatever. They can get the party that the Prime Minister represents can have a vote and say, we don't want you to be our leader anymore. We're going to appoint a new leader, and then that's now who's in charge of the country. And that shit happens all the time in Australia. So, very, very vulnerable leadership under attack. And dear Hollywood deep state, you guys need to surrender. There's a spy in your midst. He's talking a lot. Your aggression towards him validates his testimony, right? Don't you think? The guy's fucking dead, man. He spoke out against this shit and he's dead. So's Tracy Twyman. So's Jen Moore. Don't you think that validates their testimony? I mean, I think this guy's great, and I messaged him when all this shit started coming down and said, dude, I think you're great. Like, don't let him get to you. But I think he hasn't posted on Twitter, and I think this is a pretty bad scandal. I don't know what the deal is with this event. He tweeted from inside Kirribilli House, so that's like the White House. That's the Prime Minister's residence. Claims to have influenced the Prime Minister's speech. So the Prime Minister did a speech and talked about ritual sexual abuse. Now, there is some evidence, so this is getting a little bit off topic for today. I don't want it all to be about Cappy and that, but there is some evidence that, Cappy came to Australia, met with these guys, and plans to insert this ritual sexual abuse statement in the Prime Minister's speech, which when I first heard about that, I thought it was because of Fiona Barnett, because she'd tweeted about it, but it actually seems to have been an organised thing through a group using social media to kind of suggest to the Prime Minister that this would be a good thing to put in. And it is. It's great to see a world leader acknowledging that this isn't about the odd pedophile here and there. It's not about, one nasty director in Hollywood that if you can just destroy his career, then you'll save the world from pedos. This is about institutionalized systems that are pervasive throughout our society and go to all the highest levels, right? I mean, in Australia, George Pell, the number 3 guy at the Vatican, in charge of the Vatican's finances. He's in jail for this shit right now, right? This is big stuff is going on in Australia. Australia is one of the battlegrounds against institutionalised pedophilia. And Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister, he's actually standing up to it. He's fighting it hard. Now, he's getting attacked by Fiona, calling him a pedo right now. I don't know what the fuck's going on, right? But, she seems to have certain targets that she attacks very hard and other targets that she completely leaves alone. Priest Uranium, that's my problem with them. So here we go. Look, there's Cappy, there's Jesse, there's Alahai. I guess that's Jesse's dad, or is that even maybe Baruch? I am Lucky Luck, I don't know who that is, and then Brogan at the front left is the coffee guy. So, they're ripping the deep state a new one, and now the deep state is fighting back at them for doing that. So, anyway, that's interesting. Moving on to Defango's show, who is Fiona Barrett's SRA survivor or grifter. Now, Fiona has never asked for money, right? And Defango does ask for money, and I'm going to show you some evidence of that coming up in a second. So how can this guy, who's begging for shekels on a stream, call someone a grifter? Why would you go through this public attacks and the 113-page dossier created about her, attacking her family and everything? These guys, even though the dossier gets completely debunked, they bring it up again and talk about it like it's true anyway. They just gaslight you. Like, why would someone want to go through that, right? Unless it was to get the truth out there. Why would I want to go through any of this, right? The only reason for me to do this is I believe in the truth. I think the truth is really, really important. And those of us who have the courage who can take the arrows hitting us for putting our heads above the parapets, need to step forward to stand up. I have to thank Alex Jones for that. He really inspired me, not just to listen to his show and think, the world's fucking terrible, but do something about it. Try to get the word out. Try to make people aware. And so, I find myself in the middle of all of these LARPers, analysing the LARPs. I'm just trying to establish the truth. And you go to my site, all the evidence is there. I post evidence. I post citations. Where's everybody else's citations? So now I want to just show you guys. So Defango says he asked Cappy not to talk to Fiona. Plus Alahai didn't like her either. So I don't know. I mean, does he think that Cappy was following his instructions? Like, why would he ask Cappy not to talk to someone? That's kind of a bit weird, right? But anyway, Defango introduced Elahai to Cappy. Defango was promoting Elahai's Insignia Gate LARP, and now that, Elahai is like basically Elahai, Burn Spy, the Prime Minister, Elahai and Burn Spy in that one photo together, so or at least Burn Spy's son, the Prime Minister then is one step from Elahai. And Elahai's this crazy alt-right terrorist posting fucking uranium and posting all the CIA stuff like, oh yeah, the CIA did Iran-Contra and dealt drugs, and there's this thing called BCCI, and yeah, look, here's all the hundreds of pages of evidence, and I'm the only representative that can talk to aliens, right? I mean, this is like an ultimate weaponized LARP, right? That they create this character who's just so ridiculous. The shit he says is so ridiculous. It's so easily debunked. He's like, yeah, I just fly around with my passport. I stuck my own NATO cosmic clearance in my passport. And I got in trouble with it at the border, but they let me go. I told them to call this person, and they called him, and they let me go, right? Like, I mean, this guy, he comes across as a nut job, but then the police are ringing him up, and he's getting away with shit like that. So I think it's a lot more likely to say that this dude's an operative, and they basically recruited Cappy as their patsy to come and to build this relationship, to create these periscopes, to create this high-profile thing, linking QAnon to the Australian Prime Minister and linking them to Elahai. He doesn't give a shit. He just wants the attention. So, why is Elahai doing this crazy shit, talking about, 13, the sexual habits of teenage kids and what the aliens told him about it and shit like that? Is it to discredit himself because he's just a fucking whack job? Or is it so that anyone that he touches gets tarred with that brush? Now, I think that's what's happened. And I think if you can see that, then you can see that, other LARPers are doing that as well. All right. So I wanted to, just for the record, show some of the history of my interactions with Fiona Barnett. Since she has me blocked, I'm not going to dox her, and I'm not going to share all of our correspondence at all. But just I want to put this on the record because initially when I heard Fiona's story, some of the claims, I'm like, I don't know about that, but I decided to look at it a different way, which is that she's trying to do what I think I'm trying to do, and the others should be trying to do, get the word out about how this Epstein world that's uncovered, that all the way to the top, these kids are being used in blackmail and compromise operations and are being trafficked by intelligence agencies. That's basically Fiona Barnett's message, right? And so who is there trying to stop that message, to disrail it, to discredit her, She could have been in Scott Morrison's shoes easy with just, it was so close with Elahai trying to be, connected with her, with Cappy. So anyway, she left a comment on my blog, bernards.me, with an email address, and I reached out to her. And so this is the way this is March. This is the 8th of March of this year. So, hey Fiona, I just saw your comments. For some reason, I didn't get a notification from WordPress, which is interesting. I mean, if she's just a LARP, why is she getting attacked like this? And why does even to the tech giants are putting shit in their code to work in a different way when it comes to her, right? Anyway, I already updated my post with new info about Elahai. What a nutcase. GovLARPer trying to get in the way of truth. And if he doesn't get in trouble, it shows how shady he is. And of course, he hasn't got in any trouble. Well, maybe he's in jail now. Maybe that's just part of their cover story. I got attacked by Aspen Sawyer on my birthday. It's the first time that the Sawyers have ever responded to any of the research that I've published. But look, I'm not going to talk about Craig's kids or his wife or anything. I think wives and children are off limits. And then Jan Irvin, he's attacking me now, and he's attacked Fiona in the past, and Steve McMurray's been helping me. We're missing her on Twitter. Okay, and then Fiona says, nice to hear from you. You're incurring the network's wrath for supporting me and targeting the correct enemy. Sawyer is plain evil, more dangerous than Americans realise. He may be dumb as dog shit, but those who back him are not. I intend to publish a piece exposing... okay. I haven't... looked at social media, blah, blah, neo-Nazi. So she's all about the neo-Nazis as well. So funny that now, both Jan and Fiona should be on the same side. I don't know, the switching sides thing. Tim Stewart, and this is who we're talking about, this Burn Spy guy, this is in March, is certainly behind Alahai and Cappy. Now, I don't know if he's behind, but it does seem like connected to. Cappy cries poor, yet Jason Bossman cashed in 17k of Bitcoin for him, and Nate Max gave him 3k in cash here. So, wow, Cappy got $3,000 in Australia. I didn't know that. That's big news, huh? What did they give him that for? Then he made a second trip to Sydney in January to visit Tim. So I didn't know about that either. Cappy made a second trip to Australia. That's big if true. That's big if true. Maybe Burn Spy can let us know about that. McMurray wonders if Jason, now that's Jason Boss, is the money bag because he gave vegan Mikey 25k. Cappy, a polysubstance addict according to his naturopathy. Wow. Nate is probably part of it too. He sold drugs for AFP during a 10-year stint in Sydney's underbelly, and he connected me with Alahai. So I don't know if that's true either. I don't know who this person is or if it's their real name or whatever. I'm not endorsing that statement, but I am sharing this as the type of stuff that Fiona Barnett sent to me. Anyway, you're right. I'm the most attacked person on the net because my testimony is real and they must shut me up. Stay in touch. Thanks for your support. Tread carefully because you're suable. I'm not. They just want to entrap me into one of their psych units or prison. So yeah, I have to be more careful than most people. And so why would I be a LARPer and just make up shit about people and have, entire broadcasts and streams and websites dedicated to lies when, I'm a big target for someone to sue. I can only do what I do if what I'm saying is true and if I can back it up with evidence, and that's why I do it, and that's why I always post evidence. So anyway, she's next one. A bit out of the order here. How are we going for time? Okay, good. So she's saying that she's added another chapter in her book about the Wood Royal Commission, and the pastor who exposed the Hillsong Church is helping her write an MK Ultra in Church chapter. Another pastor's wife. She's credited all these people in the book, so it's fine to mention this. Since IT is your thing, I was thinking I need to release this book as a total ambush to stop them taking it down. If it goes up to multiple sites plus Amazon and other places at once, flooding makes it harder for them to suppress. So could you please think of how you could place a free ebook download on multiple sites? Can you start a few ones just to host the book? She's got her blogs. SOI agents purchase domains to help her. So that's an interesting tactic. They went and published a whole bunch of domains around the name so she couldn't get her book out with that. I'll be sending you an ebook version of the book. All you have to do is place it on my blog, any suggestions. So, and that's what I did. The subject of this email was asking for help, and so I gave her the help. I said, one good way to put the information out would be BitTorrent, get the views client, share a file from your hard drive, use a VPN, so that comes from a different IP address, and then once the file's on BitTorrent, all computers in the network have a copy of it. It's peer-to-peer. Also post to archive.org and archive.is, and then if you post it as a PDF, it'll be hard for them to suppress it, and that's what she ended up doing. And then this communication was about Cappy's landlady. This is March 27th, and she's saying that she wore a Golden Dawn second-level amulet. The second or inner order, the Ruby Rose and Cross of Gold, taught magic, including scrying, astral travel, and alchemy. Absolute proof she's a witch. Well, I don't think the amulet's the absolute proof. I think just her own comments about witchcraft on her Facebook are the proof. Could be Rosicrucian, Hermetic, Order of the Golden Dawn, any of that crap. All variations on a theme. Rose inside a cube is another form. They're dumb shit covered scum. Whatever is the lowest rank, that's them. They're only a level above Mikey, bikies, and gang thugs. So she's thrown Vegan Mikey under the bus, as everybody kind of seems to do, but this link to bikies and gang thugs is interesting, and then the Golden Dawn. So, according to Ed Opperman, Aquino did work with bikies. They were kind of the henchmen that would do his dirty work for him. And then, we obviously have this highway incident leading to Isaac Cappy's death. And then above, kind of controlling them are these like low-level, low-ranking coven people. And Fiona, with her experience in the occult, is saying that Cappy's landlady was wearing the symbol of that. So it's worth mentioning that in that Lepo Aquino PSYOP Fest video, when Frank Bacon called in, he couldn't wait to tell Aquino that he was part of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, and did rituals in Denver, Colorado with Boyd Rice. Now, if you cover look at my Tracy Twyman coverage, she was very involved with Boyd Rice and her magazine Dagobert's Revenge. And so there's a connection, between Isaac Cappy and Tracy Twyman around this Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and around this Frank Bacon character. So I just want to file that away for maybe some future discussions. So DeFango says that Fiona Barnett never went to the cops or anything like that. And that's completely false. So, this is why, even if Fiona wants to, lie about me and to say that I'm some sort of fucking agent and I'm a piece of shit or whatever, like, I'm still not going to throw her under the bus in response. It's wrong what they're doing to this lady, and someone should stick up for it. And so let's just look at the evidence. I mean, DeFango easily could have found this information about Fiona Barnett. This is a website, Independent Australia. It's written by Fiona. She's sharing her personal story that had the Child Abuse Royal Commission in tears. So testifying to a Royal Commission is kind of like testifying before Congress, right? They say, like, why don't you go to the cops? Well, she did go to the cops, and that's going to be in a minute. But testifying before Congress about your things is kind of a bit more of a big deal than just going to the local police station, don't you reckon? And Fiona Barnett's done both. She had people in tears. She has people still talking about her appearance before it. And these Royal Commissions in Australia, there's a history. They keep having them. They keep unfolding incredible amounts of corruption, and yet nothing happens and no one gets in trouble. And so this is the danger of this organised Luciferian pedo cult. It's politicians, it's judges, it's cops, it's CEOs, bankers, it's insurance companies, it's people at the top level of society, and it's also bikie gangs and Golden Dawn and child traffickers and all this type of shit as well. The dregs of society too, all connected together around this thing, which apparently is the fastest growing area of crime in the world. So anyway, Fiona's telling her story. This is the version of her story from 2014 that she would tell, where she was involved with this guy John Gittinger, and then she witnessed sex trafficking and child abduction, drugging, sexual assault, torture, murder, necrophilia, bestiality, sadism, female perpetrators, witnessed a police warrior, stuff with a dog, it's pretty gnarly. 1985, witnessed some bad stuff, 16 some stuff, but here we go. First attempt to make a police statement. She first came out in 2008, right? So, DeFango's lying about the date and the times that she's come out and done this stuff. And the first thing she did was she tried to make a police statement. And she describes that, getting the formal statement, and then Tweed Heads Police, around the area she was living in, the border of New South Wales and Queensland, they refused to take her statement. And later, the police around this area were caught up in some, in pedo-related scandals. And likewise, this Bond University, where Fiona was studying psychology, and she accused doctors there of being involved with pedophilia. Those doctors are in jail now. Like, it came out that was true. So I see Fiona as a legitimate whistleblower who did go to the police. She went to the police again in 2012. She went to the Child Abuse Task Force. They told her to report to the New South Wales Police. Now, this is all about abuse that I believe she didn't directly witness, but one of her family members may have been involved with it. I might have that wrong, but I think that's how Fiona's story first came out. And so, she's talking about the council, involving the council with this Royal Commission. I guess the point of this is that she's been going for a long time, much longer than what DeFango was saying, and she did go to the cops, and she's never asked for money in that time. Now, unfortunately, the story has changed, and maybe it's because she's remembered more stuff, but the story that she's telling now is not exactly the same as the story when she came out. But she's also got a bigger audience. She's got more experience at how to connect with people and how to make her message resonate. And I think it's good that she is spreading awareness of this. And whether or not I agree with everything she's ever said, it's not my place to tell her if her memories are false or not. Her memories are her memories; they belong to her. I can just go by things like things on her book that I don't think that can be true, or I think that's surprising. And look, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they are. So DeFango, he gaslights people on the show. He says that Unirock was going on about DeFango having the same lawyer as Timothy Holmseth and Robert David Steele, Stephen Biss, and he's like, I never had that guy as a lawyer. I never paid him. I never did shit. I mean, this is obvious gaslighting. Like, we know how deeply involved DeFango has been with Stephen Biss and his wife. They wanted him to be the tip of the spear for the RDS lawsuit. RDS is paying this guy money. This is like behind the scenes of these intelligence operatives who are paying money to YouTubers to spread information, either good, bad, true, false, whatever. This is going on. This guy is one of the people who's been busted doing it, and he's part of an IARPA project, right? So I'm not going to play his clip. I don't want to strike, but one of the things he did in this video is he says that if you want to join the Illuminati, he can hook you up, and he is now the official spokesperson. He's part of Illuminati Outreach, and he's set up a website for them. Look at it, the Illuminati website, and it's got the triangle, the all-seeing eye, right? And he's saying he's not joking. He's telling us that this is official. This is the official Illuminati. Like, if you want to become members, it's really all you got to do. You just got to give your email address and your first name and sign up to DeFango. And, they want to make the world a better place. So you'll be saving the world. And they promise to keep your information private. Yeah. All they want is the list of fucking suckers that they can target for laughs. Now, I highly, highly recommend to anyone watching this, don't go to this website. Definitely don't go to this website. If you do, make sure you got a VPN, you got virus checkers, you got malware bites, whatever. I know one particular truther. I don't know if he's posted this publicly or if it's still private, but a truther who has been attacking this group quite publicly lately just got totally hacked and shut out of his social media accounts and everything. So, there's black ops hacking going on around these people trying to gatekeep the story of pedophilia, that no SRA survivors can be true. Any SRA story has to come through them, the gatekeepers, and they'll say if it's true or not. You attack this group and you could quite possibly get hacked. Now, this join the Illuminati thing, Isaac Cappy said that was the first thing that really, made him think about going public, was that when he was asked to join the Illuminati, and then he was sent to a Facebook group suggesting that he joins the Illuminati. And what do you know, now DeFango has this freaking website to join the Illuminati? Like, were these guys going and they tried to recruit Cappy and they couldn't get him, but they got DeFango instead? Is this all just like a brand new LARP? I don't know. It needs some further investigation. But, Tracy Twyman said that she had similar experiences that Isaac Cappy was describing, where she felt that things had been put into Facebook and Twitter just deliberately to send messages to her and to control her interactions. So we need to be aware that might be out there, because multiple people are reporting having experienced that now. 2 of the people who reported having experienced it are dead. Think about that, right? We just want the world to be great. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, who's paying me to make this video? Yeah, and we all are thinking that. And, oh, look at that. MAGA Coalition Center Ninjet. Who's paying him to make this video? Well, I don't know what a Ninjet is worth these days, but last I looked, it's $120. So, this is quite a bit of money, and it's quite easy to just send this money around. It's like popping up in a stream or whatever, like making a little noise. Like, if you didn't pay attention to D-Live, you don't know a ninjet from a lemon, right? That could be nothing. But, if you start getting like 5 ninjets a week from one group, aren't you on the payroll of that group, right? And, look at who's in this MAGA coalition and look at what they do and who they attack and their narratives. And you see these same narratives and these same dudes again and again and again. Money changing hands to these operatives. So, DeFango's whole thing is based on the hit dossier against Fiona, which has already been debunked. Yep, here we go. So here's an open secret. Fiona Barnett calls us CIA-funded shills. Owner Gabe Hoff solely funded this film with public documents, and he never has evidence for her claim. So, he's going in and, maybe she didn't get raped by Nixon. Maybe it was someone in a Nixon mask. Maybe it was someone that looked like him. Who knows? Who's this fucking guy to say whether she did or not, or to attack her memories of what happened to her as a child for being false, I mean, okay, if it's false, so what? What's it to you, Oh, you're so fucking big shot that you fund this movie for $1.5 million of your own money. What a great hero. Why do you have to attack survivors? What's that got to do with anything? Why not just go make another movie? Like, there's more pedos in Hollywood, haven't you noticed? I mean, it's coming out constantly. Just read your own Twitter feed. And by the way, I don't think that Gabe Hoff is the only person posting to that an open secret Twitter account. And then, look, lengthy document thoroughly debunking Fiona Barnett fraud, right? And this document has been debunked, right? So all of a sudden he's there pushing this thing. And then here's Unirock at the same time. 115-page document fully exposing Fiona's lies. So, the narratives are synced up. Now, the document is actually believed to have been written by Priest. So Fiona took down her Twitter account, and then that means I can't go to Twitter to see her DMs, but fortunately they were sent to me by email. So I'm going to show you a few of Fiona's DMs to me here, which gives us some more backstory on all of this. So she's saying that Alahai Priest released this document on 8chan, and he sent her a threatening text at the same time. So, that's some indication that it probably was him, right? The synchronicity of it, or at least his group. I don't think DeFango has the literary skills to put together a document like that. Alahai maybe. I mean, he seems to be fond of documents. He's got lots of documents in his story. So, and then Fiona's actually saying that she thought that he and Cappy, Alahai and Cappy, were together on this because Cappy sent a text at a similar time. So it's quite possible that by this stage, and this is February the 5th this year, by this stage, Cappy and Alahai may well have been working together, and Cappy and Fiona had their falling out. This is maybe even after his second trip to Australia. And then I've posted this one before. Cappy brought illicit drugs to my home. By that she means weed, okay, everyone? When Fiona says Cappy did drugs, she believes weed is as bad as heroin, right? So she's not saying Cappy did heroin, although she did say that before, but she knows he did weed, and she believes weed's illicit drugs. So he was there, did it in front of his kids. He threw tantrums, slammed doors in my face when I asked him to help clean up. That's kind of similar to Christmas Lady, right? Said that he wouldn't clean up. Or, sorry, Flower Girl said that. Paid for nothing, never cleaned his mess, extended his stay a month, never washed his hands after toileting or before sharing food, threw tantrums when I refused to invite criminal police informants to my home, described himself as a patsy, sat in my guest room on his phone, using my internet all day long, every day, verbally abused me when I confronted him about being here to do blood diamond deals, etc. He was a freaking nightmare designed to provoke me. What I'm thinking, and this is just a hypothesis, but I think that perhaps he was lured there to do a diamond deal. The crystal that he talked about with Paris Jackson, was that even maybe something to do with diamond deals? But he was lured with the prospect to make a quick buck on a diamond deal. While he was there, he was used to bring him into this group to set up Burn Spy and Jesse. And I wonder if that good man and the great man that Cappy felt that he'd betrayed, and we were all going to find out about it, it's because of the scandal coming out, I can't think of any other hypothesis right now. Well, maybe, but so that's right now is my working hypothesis. And so, and so now we're going to move on to this account, TikTok. This came up this week. Reagan, I like Reagan. The wheels of justice have just started turning. Who's next? What is it they say? Oh yeah, TikTok. And then Julio Hawks, Infinity Zero, All-American Cartel comes in. Well, what do you know about TikTok? See, so people are aware of this TikTok account. They told me I was going to burn in hell, and I'm like, they're still raging at me years later for calling them a bot. And then confirmation that this is TikTok Beat, aka ISB Edge, right? That's an account associated with Crazy Days and Nights and Gabe Hoffman. So this TikTok Beat account actually came up in my first piece. Go to this one. So, when I saw this dossier come out attacking Fiona, I was like, this is bullshit. This is a hit job. I'm going to go and research it for myself and see what I can find out and look around. And so someone's like, does anyone have membership at Ancestry.com to drill into these records? Because they're saying that the document showed she lived at 30 McAllister, but that entry saying that was for 1958. It was for before Fiona was born. This is what DeFango is basing his case on for her to be a fraudster. This document, it's easily debunked in this. Look at these electoral rolls. Posted at Vote. I've got the link there. You can go to Vote and check all this out for yourself, right? And 58, okay, they were on the roll, and the electoral. So the electoral roll is basically a voting registry, like a list of voters. I think you have something similar in the US, but in 1958. They were on the roll, and they were at an address before Fiona's birth. But then all these other years that they filed, look at the 66, 77, 77. Like, for so many years, they filed these things with the government where if you lie to the government, you go to jail. And they put their address 14 McAllister Avenue, which is the address Fiona said. So, the great basis of this document, the true evidence-based thing, is that Fiona said this 30 McAllister, and she, that house was destroyed, and she never even lived there. But she never said it. She said 14 McAllister, and the evidence from the rolls that the document said, go look at these rolls for the evidence. But if you do, the evidence says something different from what the document said. So this is classic gaslighting. It's a classic smear job. And other stuff in the document, she sold a house, $600,000. It's not that much money for a house down here. Houses are expensive here, right? I understand that in America you can get a house for $100,000 in some places, but not really in the area. I don't know exactly where Fiona lives, but the area Tweed Heads, Northern Rivers, New South Wales area, $600,000 is like, it's by no means a mansion. And people sell a house, they have a mortgage as well. But so what if she owns a home? A married lady in her 50s, I guess she is, owns a home. So what? What the fuck is wrong with that, right? She's not asking for money. She's never begged anyone for money. So there's multiple entries there. This post from me, I'm not going to run through it again because I've already done it. If anyone's interested, debunk that dossier is completely debunked. So anyone who's promoting that dossier against Fiona Barnett now as the truth is a shill. They're not interested in the truth. They're not interested in honest research. Now, look, they say, well, she said she got raped by Walt Disney. I don't think that's true. Where's the citation? She said she got raped at Disneyland. That's kind of different, right? Going through everyone she says who's ever attacked her, and then saying, asking them, did you rape a little kid? And they all say no, and say, oh, well, it can't be true. Not all those people could have raped her. It's missing the point. This is an abuse survivor. It doesn't matter who raped her or when or anything like that. What matters is they are, for no money, for no benefit to themselves, raising awareness of how prolific this stuff is, how much of it's going on. Now, the ones against them on the other side, the gatekeepers, they're telling us that it isn't going on at all, that there's no such thing. It's all satanic panic. It's bullshit, right? But, this stuff is real. So, Jules Oliver's World, I really like them. That account, they did great work reporting on the Nexium trial, going into the courtroom and letting us know what was going on. So every time I posted Fiona Barnett's name, this bot shows up 3 minutes later I tested it, tagged everyone. Exactly 3 minutes later, this one came. So this account, this So Ninja, this is TikTok. This is this ISP Edge, right? That's what they're saying. That this account that I suspected was a live account with a bot as well. It's being used to attack Fiona Barnett, and now it appears to be associated with Crazy Days and Nights and that hedge fund guy. So I don't know if that's true or not. It needs further digging. But that's what people were saying on Twitter this week. Okay, so where do we get up to? We did Illuminati, Defango. I think we're almost done on Defango and Fiona, and we can move to some of these other ones. Defango. So, one of the things Defango said is that Fiona went on ITNJ with Robert David Steele, and so that proves that she's a shill and completely discredits her. So I was like, well, what are the dates that this happened? And Defango's interview with Robert David Steele, his second interview, I think it was, where he famously, threw a hissy fit because Steele said that he was basically lowering himself to go on that channel. That was the 2nd of December 2017, right? Now, Fiona's testimony to the ITNJ was posted on the 7th of September, but if you go through it, it actually says on the 7th of July 2018 is when she gave her testimony. So this is only like 7 months, maybe 8 months after Defango. Well, it was fine for Defango to have Steele on, and he was cool. He wasn't a shill or an agent or anything like that to have Steele on his show then. But then, 8 months later, when Fiona goes on it, she must be a shill. So either she doesn't watch the Defango channel or, maybe she thought this thing was legitimate, but she's been speaking out against it lately. So I actually asked her about this. And by the way, Defango says that this is the most evil thing that anyone has ever seen, that Fiona Barnett would go and tell her story to people. But I actually think that attacking SRA survivors is one of the most evil things that I've ever seen. Or the abuse itself, So, hey, Steve, watched your LTV interview. Really impressed with your research and delivery. If you're interested, I'd like to chat and compare notes and pick your brain. So, when was that? October 1st, 2018. She wants my help. I'll go give her my help. Fine, I'm getting hammered by some reformed lesbian left chick who loves George Webb. She's on my Facebook too. Anyhow, Jan Irvin, did you hear how his interview went? Put it this way, it never aired. Well, it did. He has aired it now. I'm not going to comment on that. Go watch it if you want. Fiona sent a direct message. No surprises here. The video, I'm not quite sure what video she's producing with, but this is me asking her with ITNJ. So the Hoaxstead Luciferian group, Shiva Burton, etc., they supported the kids but slammed the parents, and so had a run-in and clashed with David Schroeder over it and the Hoaxstead group. And then they probably worked in with ITNJ to set this up to discredit victims. Alahai was maybe involved too, because he lived with Sasha Stone in the UK, right? So they've invited Fiona to this ITNJ to give her testimony. This guy, Sasha Stone, who's Alahai's roommate. Hey, Fiona, come, all right? And so they've got her on record. Here's Fiona, this ITNJ thing, saying all of her story to this kind of official-sounding, commission, blah, blah, blah. And then, Alahai's trying to set this thing up to attach her to Cappy, attach Cappy to Burn Spy, and attach Burn Spy to ScoMo to set up the Australian Prime Minister. So this is maybe going back as far as, July 2018, when this plan began. And that timeline actually lines up with Cappy coming out, which I believe was the end of June. And, maybe they're like, he's our guy, let's go and trap this guy and bring him into this LARP and use him for our plan. And here's Fiona. The bottom line, I gave an interview to the ITNJ, just like I did to everyone else. So they asked her for an interview and she gave it. That's not really colluding with Robert David Steele. I think what Defango did in interacting with Steele was a lot more. I don't even know that, I don't think that Steele was there. I mean, I'm not sure about that. Maybe he was. And then the next thing in the Defango thing is he says that Fiona Barnett is a robber. Like, how could anyone support this robber? Fiona Barnett of Alfredton stole money while working at Pasture Seeds in Ballarat. Now, if you're not Australian, you might think, oh, well, it's Fiona Barnett. So it could only be one. But first of all, Barnett is quite a common name in Australia. But secondly, Ballarat is rural country Victoria, where Melbourne is. That's where I lived. And Fiona Barnett's talking about Tweed Heads, Queensland, going to university, Bond University in the Gold Coast, right? This is like more than 1,000 miles away, maybe 2,000 miles away. It's a long freaking way from Ballarat to the Gold Coast. And in Fiona's background, there's never any indication that she lived in Ballarat, right? And as it turns out, if you click this link, it's Fiona Maria Barnett. It's a completely different person. But, you know, they are using this to discredit her and say that she's a thief. I mean, just look, this is what the elusive man does. He just piles as much dirt as he can into an attack on someone, and it doesn't matter if it's true or not. And, you know, what are they going to say in response? I'm not that Fiona Barnett. Okay, she can say it, but so what? The damage has been done. It's on the record. I mean, it's not like he's going to correct himself or take his video down just because it's been shown to be total lies, right? So, yeah, an open secret. Here we are, some more. And they've said wrong Fiona Barnett. In 2007, she's 38, married and living on the Gold Coast. So they have said this to these people. They've been told directly that this information is false. Directly, back in 2018. And yet Defango is still going out there running for it. And, you know, you think that Defango comes and attacks Fiona Barnett, and at the same time an open secret comes out and attacks Fiona Barnett, and that's just coincidence? That they didn't talk to each other in any way? There's no coordination? Really? I don't believe that at all. Okay, so now then let's move it on a bit to change it up. Unirock. So Unirock did a Periscope today talking about Cappy Barnett, and he's saying, look, I'm open to hearing about Craig Sawyer, just show me the evidence. And so that's what we're going to go through a bit of now. And I'm going to do the time check. Okay, good. So Unirock says that Craig Sawyer only changed his position on this backyard brawl thing when Unirock sent him evidence showing it was fake. So that's a very interesting story. I've never heard that before. And later on, I'll show you Sawyer telling the story in his own words, which is totally different from Unirock's version of it. So, you know, I mean, maybe that's what happened. I have seen Craig Sawyer in contact with Unirock. So I don't know. We'll get to that in a sec. And then he says that when Cappy was messaging Paris Jackson to get money together because he could get some crystal for her, it could only mean meth. It couldn't mean anything else. Now, I have to admit I haven't seen that message that he's talking about. So there's no citation for it. If anyone's got that, please post that in the comments. I'd like to have a look at what that note said. But then Unirock said that it was after Cappy choked Paris Green that he came out with his Seth Green story. And Cappy actually addressed this, the timeline of it, in some detail. Hollywood Life. He just says that he was playing around with Paris. She was a friend. He didn't choke her at a party. It was just horseplay. Regarding the choking allegations, this is not true. The party didn't even happen a month ago. I haven't seen or talked to her in over a year. I was at her house for a Memorial Day party back in May 2017. We were in the kitchen horseplaying. A guy at the party totally blew the situation out of proportion. Well, after he went public with all this stuff, Paris did come and take out a restraining order against him. Nobody was hurt. Paris and I were totally playing around. I even spent the night. And the next day, Paris gave me a gift, which was a hat that I still have. Why would she have given me a gift the next day if I was choking her? Yeah, well, seems like a pretty valid question, right? Why didn't they throw me out of the party right away? I mean, you think fucking Michael Jackson's kid has security? Can you imagine a party at their house? 100% they've got security. So, yeah, that's TMZ has claimed the alleged choking happened at a game night party last month at her home, and up until then they had been friends. But Isaac maintains he hasn't been in contact with Paris since that 2017 party. I've had no contact with her in over a year. The only thing I've texted her was the other day when these stories came out. I just said she is being dragged into this and shouldn't be. He's been accusing Seth and Claire. And it was also reported that I was threatening them in the letter, but if you read it, there were no threats. And he's made these claims. So, the evidence shows... that, okay, I guess technically Unirock is correct that he came out with the Seth Green story after choking Paris, but it was like 13 months after, right? It was a long time after. So the idea that he did it because he was in so much trouble for doing that and he needed like a cover story or something, that you apply logic to that. Like you can take the facts, the grammar, and you can say, yes, that's true. After Cappy choked Paris, he came out with the Seth Green story. But the key detail that's omitted is this 13 months. And apply logic, coming out with his story about Seth Green was nothing to do with Paris Jackson. Particularly as in TMZ, he's specifically saying there it's nothing to do with Paris Jackson. Right? So I tend to believe Cappy on that one. And then Unirock says that he's proved that Cappy was alone on the bridge, sitting on it, leaning back before he killed himself. There was no one on that bridge that was even close to him that could have killed him. Right? Unirock saying he's proved that. And he's proved that because Phoenix Enigma found the dash cam footage of the security guard from the Arizona National Guard base, Camp Navajo, that Cappy died next door to. The Arizona Army National Guard was specifically called out by Fiona and Cappy as being involved in sex trafficking. So if Cappy was at that point a patsy being involved in some high-level LARP, where the target's actually a prime minister, and they coming up, they're talking about this thing with the Arizona National Guard, maybe that's how they come out with a demise plan, that they're going to take him out next to this base so that all the conspiracy theorists will link the two together. And who's the one who's talked about this base and the deep underground military base that's there, Camp Navajo? I'll let you guys, we'll discuss that one a little bit later. I think Corey's done fantastic research on this case, but has he explored every avenue, or are there some avenues that rather than really going down those rabbit holes, he's actually been filling them up? So, Unirock wants the evidence of Craig Sawyer, and I've done the financial analysis Vets for Child Rescue 2018 and 2017 from their Form 990. That's their IRS filing. So this is looking at their actual numbers, right? This is not I'm making something up because I hate Craig Sawyer, so I'm going to lie about him. I'm going through the numbers that he's given the IRS, and I'm giving you my interpretation of them as somebody who knows how to read a Form 990 and a profit and loss statement and operate spreadsheets, But DeFango said, well, why have I got it in for Sawyer so much? I don't have it in for Sawyer personally, but I don't think it's right to go on the internet and lie to people and raise money. And I think Sawyer is a liar, and I will prove to you in this video that he's a liar. But I started out initially on 14th of June 2017, positive towards Sawyer. I saw him on the Hagman report, and I was like, wow, Navy SEALs are going to go get pedos. That's fucking great. That's what we need. The government's not doing shit, so send in these private mercenaries, militias, and we'll be able to stop the trafficking. But that's not what they've done in this operation at all. Nothing like that's gone on. They've gone after a few low-level pedos when they were working with Laurie Hoyt, and they're doing training for law enforcement around the country. So they're going around the country establishing relationships and networks with police departments around child sex trafficking, right? That's what Vets for Child Rescue is doing. They're building global networks around child sex trafficking. Now, are they using that to stop it? I don't know. The documentary hasn't come out. We haven't seen that yet. And just while we're briefly on the honeybee, I put $100. I donated to her movie. It hasn't come out yet. She vanished basically after being attacked by Fiona Barnett and others who linked her to the Gambino family. And then a member of the Gambino family, the head of it apparently, was murdered by a guy who said it was made out to be the QAnon killer, right? He showed his hand with the hashtag QAnon written on his hand to the cameras, and so they could blame that mafia hit on QAnon. And this is what's starting to happen, that the QAnon movement is now being used as all these kind of crazy characters. They say, oh, they support Q, therefore Q's bad, therefore we have to go after anyone that supports Q. And that seems like the way the deep state would respond to a thing like QAnon if it was genuine, right? On the honeybee, Wake Now just released a documentary or a little video with evidence showing that she was actively searching for child porn on the internet, and saying that I'm a researcher is kind of the excuse that's what Pete Townsend from The Who said. I was just doing research on it. I mean, That's what they all say is the point Wake Now makes, and that's a very interesting point. Random Rancer Ryan says he's friends with her. She's still legit. The documentary's coming out. Sawyer says he's legit. The documentary's coming out. And then my next tweet to Sawyer was like, okay, it's been a year since Pizzagate broke, and we've got these Navy SEALs now on the case. Are they going to go get Podesta? What's going on? Just wondering if former Navy SEAL tough guy Craig Sawyer's done anything in that time to stop child sex trafficking other than self-promotion on Alex Jones, etc. I know Titus and Honeybean have been working hard on it. And then Sawyer says, sorry, good veterans working to safeguard children from pedophiles somehow threatens you. Now, what did they do to safeguard children from pedophiles? A couple of tweets saying, hey, kids, you can get like some fucking net nanny software. You know, your parents can put it onto your network so you can't download porn. I don't mean, look, what? Where is Vets for Child Rescue actually doing this thing of safeguarding children from pedos? Now, the stings, where they're trying to catch a few pedos, okay, great. Lock up pedos, great. You know, I hope they get life sentences. But is there any follow-up to see, did they actually even go to jail? How many of the people from the stings that were arrested are still in jail today? How many are walking the streets today? You know, Sawyer's kind of claiming for each one of these caught on a Vets for Child Rescue sting, they've saved 70 children from being abused. But how does that work? Like, if they get 6 months and then they're back out on the streets again, what happened, you know? Well, you know, exposure on this documentary was so humiliating they'd never do it again. Why are they going to expose them? They're going to blur their faces out. We don't even know that because there's no documentary. So, look, I won't go through this whole thing. You can go through that later. Instead, I want to make sure I can play a couple of these clips. Sawyer does say that he has a platinum rating for his charity in GuideStar, and that is true. And, you know, it's very straightforward. They basically take money from the public, spend it on marketing, like, you know, potentially NASCAR, billboards, things like that. And then they put a huge chunk of it into a documentary when there's no documentary. So is that worthy of a platinum update rating? I don't know. I mean, I'd say maybe not. Now, is it just me, or is that like a bit of a Freudian slip? Like, we really need this 40 grand by December 1. You know, I used to own a nightclub, right? Or be the main investor at a nightclub at least. And I've also been to Burning Man 12 times. You know, I've been to a lot of raves. I've partied my way around the world. And I've met people that seem to have cocaine addictions. And one of the things they do is sniff inappropriately at different times. So, just saying, I'm not saying that that's true of Craig Sawyer. That sniff seems a little bit unusual. And his statement that, okay, so this is like the 9th of November when he's making this statement, and he's saying that the movie that's been shot for like 2.5 years will be released on December 1. It's just that the quality of the editing was terrible from the producer that ripped them off for the 600 grand, but they got everything back, so it has to be re-edited. And that's going to cost 80 grand, and they've already spent 40 grand. So they need to raise another 40,000 between now and December 1 to edit the movie, to finish it. And so he says, I think later on in that interview with Jason, maybe it was an interview on a different channel, but he says that they haven't got the distribution sorted out yet. Actually, it wasn't this thing, and Jason's like, oh, I can help you. I know about Hollywood. So didn't Craig Sawyer put up a whole thing on Twitter that it was going to be on Netflix? Have I got that one? Damn, I didn't save the link for that one. Yeah, so November the November the 9th or the 10th, 2018 was when this movie was supposed to be coming out on Netflix. And he posted a big tweet, Contraland Netflix, right? They're using the Netflix logo to promote this. Now, a year later, he's saying, oh, we haven't worked out distribution yet. But the movie will be out December 1 as long as we can do the editing. And 40 grand for 3 weeks work of editing? Like, fuck, I don't know how to use Final Cut. I'll do the editing for that. But he says it's got to be to professional standard. Well, who do we know who, makes movies for Hollywood about, to a professional award-winning standard and does the editing themselves, and really wants to help Sawman and loves and supports Sawman and always tweets about Sawman? Oh, that hedge fund guy. So why doesn't that hedge fund guy team up with Sawman and help him get the video out? Wouldn't that be a better way to help stop pedophilia and child sex trafficking than attacking Fiona Barnett, lying about me, attacking any SRA survivor, getting in all these wars, threatening lawsuits with everyone? Like, is that really helping victims of organised, institutionalised pedophilia? Why not help Sawman get that movie out, right? Here's Sawyer talking about Hillary Clinton. This is the channel Free Speech Fair Use. Go sub to that channel. Why would I attack Craig Sawyer? Well, why would Craig Sawyer lie? And why should he expect that he can raise $1.2 million from the public and not have anyone in the world have the right to say, hey, where's the money being spent? Oh, it's been spent on a documentary. Hey, where's that documentary? He's like, oh, we don't have the editing done. We don't have the distribution yet. Well, didn't a year ago you tweeted it was going to be on Netflix? I think you should have the right to question that for 1.2 million, right? So, but showing that the person is actually a liar, now we're talking to something different. It's lying to people to get money. Well, I don't believe that you're allowed to do that. That's NLP. First of all, repeating something 3 times, that repetition, they're trying to plant that inside your brain. But if you notice the way he's saying it, he's emphasizing it, it's changing in tone. He's like, it feels good. It feels good. He's trying to insert a magic spell in there to implant in people's minds that as terrible as this child trafficking and abuse is, it feels good to do something about it. Now, what could any of us do about it? Are we going to go spend $1.5 million and edit our own Hollywood movie? No. Well, if you don't, then you're a loser who's not doing anything about this Luciferian pedo cult. Are you going to be a Navy SEAL and go and find rape trees at a homeless camp? No. Well, what are you doing about it? It feels good to donate to Vets for Child Rescue because Sawman is going to do it all for you. Just, get that hit, get that dopamine hit, that good feeling. And these guys talk a lot about honesty, about the truth. It's like, let me be honest, to be honest, crowdsource the truth, whatever. Like, I don't, it seems to come up a lot. So anyone that criticizes Craig Sawyer, and by extension Jason Goodman, they're actually going against people who are doing real effective operations to stop child trafficking. Now, effective at raising money, effective at marketing, absolutely, I don't think Lift the Veil has done 1.2 million in revenues from he and Katie's t-shirt business in the time that they've been doing it, and that dude's on YouTube for hours every fucking day. Sawman does like 50 interviews a year, he's kind of busy, goes on Jason Goodman, whatever. How many child traffickers were stopped? None. So when you're going against this guy, you're not getting in the way of stopping child traffickers. You're saying, why haven't you stopped child traffickers, Sawman? There's something about Sawyer's cheesy Cheshire cat grin at that point as well, that it just looks artificial and fake to me. It doesn't look right. And they're both wearing earpieces, and at one point in one of these videos, you see Sawyer actually get some instructions in his earpiece. So I'm wondering if, like, right at that moment when he delivered that bit, whoever's on the earpiece is like, great job, Craig, you did really well. That you nailed it. He's like, yeah. I don't know, if you watch it a few times, and I have, that you might get that impression too. His counterpart in a foreign country, and what foreign country would that be, Jason? Ukraine? Why didn't you say Ukraine, Jason? Why do you have to say a foreign country? We all know it's Ukraine. Why didn't you say that? But have a look at what he's trying to do here. It's unbelievable. I mean, you watch these people in action. It is like military grade. But he's trying to say that Adam Schiff is full of shit, reading this fake transcript that he just made up a transcript to read out, right? And because Adam Schiff is full of shit, Craig Sawyer's legitimate. Now, this is a logical fallacy known as a non sequitur. The two things aren't related in any way. But the way that he says it sincerely, it's designed to convey the impression to the gullible members of the audience, not my audience here, but Jason's audience, that what they're saying is all true. Well, have a look at what they do. It's remarkable.
Adam Schiff would like to socially engineer the people of the United States of America to make you believe
from his
the
old Wikipedia
falsehood
page.
that
He
he's
used to promote
saying
this.
and disbelieve the truth, the black and white written in a telephone transcript truth of what Donald Trump actually said. So in the same exact way that the public is being socially engineered against you, Craig, the same tactics are being used to socially engineer the public against President Trump. And I would hope that the people watching our broadcast today, who know that what I'm saying about Adam Schiff is accurate, will consider that it might also be accurate in the case of Craig Sawyer.
Triple Canopy is Blackwater, right? So he's a contractor for Blackwater. Now, they might have been separate companies at the time or whatever, but it's all one big thing now. And Eric Prince involved with that, and he's also linked to Pizzagate. Bear that one in mind. Not linked to Pizzagate as a perp, but linked to Pizzagate, maybe the political psyop attached to that thing. Sawyer's saying here that he worked for Triple Canopy after he left the Marshal Service, and from his LinkedIn, it says 2004 to 2006 is when he worked for them. Don't you think it would be quite big news? John McCain and Hillary Clinton going to visit Kirkuk in Iraq together with just two Secret Service guys, right? Like, I don't know. I would think that John McCain and Hillary Clinton going anywhere in Iraq would be big news, and there'd be photos of it. And in fact, as you see in this video, there are photos of both of them going to Iraq. But the problem is that the dates don't match Sawyer's story. Right, so it hasn't wavered from the answer he's ever given, except it used to be all over his Wikipedia page and bio, and now he's like erased all of that and is denying that it ever happened. So, then Jason says, oh, you can see how fake it is, and he swallows. I don't know. I mean, it would be easy now for the people who are fans of Sawyer and hate me and want to prove me wrong to respond to this with evidence. It would be simple. All you got to do, you don't have to be Sawyer to do this. Find the evidence that Hillary Clinton and John McCain were in Kirkuk, Iraq, together at the same time between 2004 and 2006. Find that evidence, get back to me, and I'll gladly apologise to these people for saying it's wrong. But I'm telling you that I can't find that evidence. And so, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but I don't think it exists. Surely that, someone would take a photo, right, of Hillary Clinton going to Iraq. Someone would take a photo of John McCain, and they did. Craig's role in backyard brawl. So, so we got him lying about Hillary and McCain. He used to boast that he did it. Now he says he never did it, and also that it was only one time where they came together once briefly for one really quick meeting, and then it turned, by the end of the story, it changed to a series of meetings. That's Hillary. Well, what about this backyard brawl? So, they just keep coming back to pushing the narrative like, hey, Craig, what's up with that LARP you were in? The 50,000 got tricked by the rape trees. He's like, wow, it's just organised slander and libel and defamation, these clickbait libelers, right? So I don't give a fuck about clickbait, I mean, I've had the #1 blog site and #1 blog post in the world on WordPress.com before, out of like 70 million odd blogs. I've had a single Facebook post that got more than 26 million impressions, right? This is years ago. Like, what did I get out of that? Nothing. Like, have I tried to do something like that again? No, I don't. Whatever, I don't do this for likes or for views or for clicks or for anything like that. I do this for the truth. There is only one truth, objective truth, and it is a spiritual battle because the truth is what's under attack, and God is truth. God is light, God is love. So love is truth. And, I'm coming from love. Tell your truths, If Craig says something that's not true, then he should man up and say, look, I was wrong. I misspoke. I apologise. I shouldn't have said that. But in fact, it's kind of more like the opposite. Craig is telling us that he didn't do things that he did. Anyway, Screwy Louie was not a veteran and had never claimed to be. But my understanding is that there were people in Veterans on Patrol who were veterans. Maybe someone could confirm or deny that. But these guys are basically trying to help out homeless veterans. That's what the organisation tries to do. And that's actually a cause that my wife and I were very involved in the Bay Area. 12% of all of the homeless in the United States are veterans, which is very sad. It's very sad how our troops get treated when they come back. So I see Veterans on Patrol as an organisation that's done a lot of good stuff. Now, he says they've never chased the cartel off. That's a lie. But they've posted videos of like finding massive bales of marijuana and that they handed over to the police. If they were as scumbags and thieves and everything like he's accusing them, wouldn't they have just like sold that shit? So, I Screwy Louie, for sure, that guy seems like a FBI provocateur. Who knows? Maybe he's just screwy. But one part of that story that gets overlooked sometimes is that Lift the Veil is actually because of him putting the footage there, the guy got busted for trespassing. So, and all the people attacking Screwy Louie, they attacked Lift the Veil as well. And, that sort of speaks to Nathan's legitimacy, I think, when really, if he was illegitimate, they'd be holding him up as a hero for that win against their enemy. He's told this story a few different times. I've heard it many times, and I've heard the details of it change, but that's kind of a key detail of the story. When he got there first, law enforcement had already been there for more than an hour. Now, if you go watch the videos and everything that they film, it's all like rape trees, this is definitely a child sex trafficking cab, everything like that. Now, if law enforcement's already been there checking it out, why are these guys trespassing on the site, right? They get permission from law enforcement to trespass there? And then take a look at this photo. There's Sawman and Screwy Louie, and they're dressed for action, right? He's got his rifle, and he's got 3 banana clips in his tactical vest. Sawman is on the case. Why the fuck is this guy walking around a potential crime scene with the police strapped and decked out with all that gear, right? Seriously? This is just how he rolls? He rolls up to this police investigating a possible child trafficking camp. I'm going to go pull out my fucking AR-15 and make sure I have 3 banana clips with me to go and talk to the cops. Doesn't make sense, right? Sawyer's crew, when they come to examine this camp, it consists of a former Navy SEAL colleague and a former CIA member. So, former CIA, right? Like once CIA, always CIA. Remember, Sawman himself, he says he's maintained a top secret clearance most of his life, and he's still conducting Tier 1 classified operations, right? So, this is who's come out to this child trafficking site. It's like, we need the CIA guy here. He'll be able to tell us. And what does he tell us with all his expertise? He tells us rape trees. So he got all these unwitting people hyped up. I mean, what happened is Louis called in Sawyer, or called in this other guy from Tucson, who Sawyer says now was a crook. And the other guy called Sawyer, and Sawyer comes and is like, fuck, we got to film this for Contraland. This will be great in our documentary. I'm going to bring my CIA guy and another Navy SEAL. And then for 3 or 4 days, he does a media blitz. Rape trees, rape trees, rape trees. Alex Jones, local TV, wherever he can. And people start responding from all around the country. Patriots hear about these rape trees and Sawman, and they've got to come down there and stop these cartels and these traffickers, what they're doing to our kids. Even DeFango was heading down there. Remember, he lost his wallet in a gas station. He had to, he said, I have to turn around and I was heading down there to get back into the LARP, or to get into the LARP, and then I forgot my wallet. I had to turn around and go home, right? So did someone warn him that what was going on, that Sawman was on the scene now? He was taking over this narrative control. And this story here is saying that, Sawyer's saying, look, we found a tree that looks like a rape tree, and he's describing in detail, what they do to it. It's a lot like David Hawkins and Squawkins with his graphically horrific, detailed descriptions of what these monsters do to innocent little children, the emotion, pressing that emotional button again. And then Frank, who's with the team, he's in Frank Bacon, a former Navy SEAL. He's seen many smugglers' dens, some used for human trafficking. The signs point towards that. I can't say for sure it's a smuggling den. Okay, so in the next 3 or 4 days, Unirock tells them that the guy's a fraud, and then they figure out that it's just like a bottle with a tranny in it. They don't mention that, Lift the Veil had the actual person on. Now, look at this. This is the 4th of June. They're posting. Now, and they've got this tactical vehicle, this Bearcat or whatever, like an armored car. They're all strapped. They're all holding their long guns, right? They've all got all their freaking gear on. Our elite Viper team, led by Sawman, is composed of veteran Tier 1 operators and top-level military federal investigators. These are the best of the best. They've operated in nearly every country around the world, and now their current mission is to combat minor sex trafficking and child exploitation. Okay, so this is the 4th of June. The 30th or 31st of May is when they went down to the site. So these are the best of the best military and federal investigators. And they've been there for 4 days on the site with 2 cadaver dogs. But it's only when Unirock says that Screwy Louie's a hoaxer that then the whole thing suddenly gets demolished and everybody goes away. So what that the cops wear chest cams? I mean, everyone knows, first of all, that cops wear body cams, but Sawyer went there, the cops have been there for more than an hour, and he went there and took his cell phone out and fucking filmed everything, right? what would the cop body cam show that wasn't in his filming? But after he filmed it, then it was the rape trees. I would love to see the numbers for how much money Vets for Child Rescue took in during that operation. Everything after the police investigated and wrote the report and they realised it was a hoax 4 days later. So up until that, who was doing the hoaxing? Sawyer's got selective memory very much there about what happened with Backyard Brawl. And Screwy Louie, okay, they got a bunch of donations, but that wasn't the main purpose of what they were trying to do, I don't think. And they said specifically, don't send money. I mean, what kind of scam is it if they don't send money? Whereas Sawyer's the one getting money, right? You can send money to him. That's what they do. It's a registered charity. Also, see my GovLARP presentation with Sawyer. I was thinking I might go through those slides, but I don't have time. So here's an open secret talking about Robert Q sent me. He's hung himself in a life-threatening condition. So, okay, why do they even give a fuck? They have to share it with us. But then their next thing, set the account to private, relative shared the sad news, and then by the fourth tweet, 9 months ago, he appeared on Lift the Veil. Lift the Veil is a former car dealer living in his father's garage who's cowardly blocked us. So, they block everyone, and then if you block them, you're a coward. But they're not cowards for blocking everyone, of course. But you can see what they're doing. It's the same thing with Cappy. This dude's either killed himself or tried to kill himself, or there was a murder attempt on him. But immediately, before there's any confirmation of anything, here they are trying to blame it on others, trying to blame it on YouTubers, on alt media YouTubers, who are critical of Zionism. Oh, yeah, it's obviously Lift the Veil's fault that Robert Q sent me. I mean, why isn't he blaming Unirock? Unirock's the one who said, we have people in your hometown right now taking photos of you, right? And then Robert himself said, Unirock is why I'm killing myself, so pretty much, right? So, and Open Secret's giving the guy a fucking hat tip, and blaming Nathan. And of course, he's got to get Thomas in there as well, and attacking Thomas. And then finally, just to wrap it all up, praising fucking Freddie. Fucking Freddie's great. So that's who's together on this side, I guess. Here's a brief thing that probably will bring people a smile. An Open Secret violated Twitter's rules, and their account got suspended for violating the rules. April 4/20/2019, and so Cappy was dead 3 weeks after that. So I don't know if that really pissed people off. I can imagine that might have pissed some people off. But the reason that he's done it is filed a complaint for harassing SRA victims, and this guy's a SRA victim. There was a leak to where they were saying that they've interviewed and dealt with many SRA victims before. Well, where's all the videos of that? That's what these guys do, right? They make movies to expose pedophilia and shit. Where's their videos about SRA? All I see is them attacking it. So here they say, you were trolled and fell for it. Pizzagate and Comet Ping Pong are a hoax, right? QAnon's crazies. And Franklin, false reef Franklin, you have no citation. So I searched at Open Secret and at Gabe Hoff, looking for Satan or Satanism or Lucifer or Finders, and they don't ever tweet about this stuff. So for all these satanic ritual abuse victims that they've interviewed and have so much experience with making movies about, they never ever tweet about it. So here is Lee Stranahan's a piece of a garbage person, like DeFango likes to say. Sticking up for Posobiec. He definitely sticks up for his mates Poso and Cerno. Posobiec does more to fight child sex abuse every single day than any other journalist with a big following. So Posobiec's doing more than Lift the Veil or Titus Frost? I don't think so. I don't see that, right? Here we go. Why does Posobiec refuse to address the Franklin Boys Town scandal? One of the most well-documented examples of systemic abuse involving high-level public and private figures. An Open Secret, false. It was a hoax. Someone went to jail for perjury. And then Anastasia here says it was not a hoax. Here's the evidence. And the judge awarded $1 million to Paul Bonacci for being a victim of child porn being made in this story and by Lawrence King. So how can, if the judge has awarded $1 million settlement, how can the story be a hoax, right? Surely an award from a judge has evidentiary weight, right? And I don't know too many people going around saying that the Franklin cover-up was a hoax, but these guys do. It's all a fucking hoax. People who truly care about children need to call out hoaxes. And then talking about shady felons. Hoaxes detract from the credibility of real child abuse and make it tougher for them to come forward. You don't think that viciously attacking survivors and getting your attack dogs to come out and make hit piece videos against them and creating dossiers and stuff like that, you don't think that makes it harder for survivors to come forward? And look, here it says the McMartin hoax alone set back the entire country dealing with child sex abuse big time for years, right? So he's saying that McMartin was a hoax, and he's even referencing the diagram that came from the latest FBI vault drop on the finders had the maps of the tunnels at McMartin, right? And he's saying that this McMartin thing was still a hoax, and there wasn't any actual excavation of actual tunnels. Now, if you follow the Outtrim report, that's wrong, right? He's had the architect on who did the excavation, who found the tunnels, who found, just like the children described, pentagrams and animal bones and stuff down there in these tunnels, right? So why does he even care? This is a case from the 80s. Why does he care so much to debunk this hoax? Does it really stop child trafficking? You know, does it really help pedophilia in Hollywood if he debunks the McMartin hoax? Especially when the FBI vault has just released pictures of the tunnels. That's when he's got to come in debunking the hoax. This sounds strange to me. And then, so this, I think it was this one with, says John Brisson and McMartin Preschool with Opperman. But then someone in the comments here is saying that the guest isn't Brisson. I don't know. So he's like, we've read the documents. This guy gives me a lot of shit on Twitter, but he seems like a good researcher. I'm starting to quite like the dude. Anyway, the comment says, anyone yet investigated the property that burned down in Crestline Lake Arrowhead area the same day the McMartin Preschool case broke the news? Muchas evidence. So just an interesting thing on that. You know, when I first met Jan Irvin face to face, he invited me to come to his house in Crestline. You know, he was admiring my McLaren on Facebook, and I was driving to see my friend who lives in Laguna Beach and some other friends in San Diego. I'm like, I'm in the neighborhood. It doesn't look like it's that far. Take my, whip for a spin in the mountains. It's a nice country ride. And Jan's like, oh, he nearly crashed it in another car, and I drove with him again, and he nearly crashed it then. Well, what's nearly crashed, right? You crash it or you don't crash it. Like, anyway, that's just bullshit. Nothing like that happened. But on our drive, Jan did take me to the Satanic Castle in Crestline that burned down. And he said there was a connection between McMartin and the Army PSYOPs people involved with that, and the Satanic Castle in Crestline that also involved Shirley Temple. So, isn't that interesting that dude fucking lives by that Satanic Castle? Although apparently he's moved now. And then, I think I showed that one. Yep. The final thing I wanted to just leave you guys with is on this comment here on Reddit talking about the finders and the FBI release. The most officially ever admitted to by the government in one place about the finders. I mean, this was CIA, right? But one of the comments here, the operations are still in fighters are still in operation. It's much larger than the FBI alludes to, and you can identify them. So Mueller specifically declined to pursue any investigation based on Gunderson's information. Mueller covered up for the finders. That's basically what this FBI drop is revealing. There's good info here. Now, someone is saying, here, has no one read the book called The Game Caller? The finders are important because Marion Petty was sending people on consciousness-expanding missions that he called games throughout the entire US. He was able to completely take over whole towns by simply having someone go into the municipal records office, look up every piece of land that holds influence within the city, purchase it and leverage it to control local policy. He took over most of the eastern United States of America doing just that. He then started taking over the Midwest and California before presumably the CIA intervened. The CIA were not interested in the finder's pedophilia. They were interested in how he was able to drastically increase the consciousness of its members to turn them into people that can be tossed into any town in the world and have that person be running that town after a single year living there. That was why the CIA was petrified of Marion petty. He also used these methods on children where they were used like brainwashed soldiers, another reason the CIA wanted him. He was the DC driver for every famous World War II general in existence, and he learned all kinds of things about how the army works and what the army generals' wives gossip about. The finders are important because he could train someone to take over any town in the country in a few years. So this argument here, and I haven't read the book to know the strength of it or not, but they're saying that the finders wasn't part of the CIA, that the CIA found out about the finders and had to infiltrate it because of how powerful it was. Now, I don't think that's true. I think it's more likely to be the other way around, that it was absolutely they wanted to train people to have this ability. But this is what their games are about, and their game caller is about. One of the games is that you would go to a new town, and every day you would pretend to be a different age until you got to your actual age. So one day you would be 1 year old, the next day you'd be a 2-year-old, the next day a 3-year-old, right? And just experiencing living and being in that town through the consciousness of that sort of lens of perspective. So this is some fucked up mind control shit, just like with Nexium was this fucked up mind control shit. So the Finders is real, McMartin is real, the Franklin hoax is real, Pizzagate is real, James Alefantis is deeply entwined in this. There are links between Comet Ping Pong, Voodoo Donuts, and Comet Ping Pong and Nexium. And all kinds of stuff going on. And then we look at the mega group, Spielberg, Wexner, others, these mega Jewish billionaires who possibly are the financiers and beneficiaries of this entire Epstein network. You know, we know that Epstein was working with intelligence agencies, and it's pretty obvious Ghislaine Maxwell was as well. But there you have this hedge fund guy again going out and saying, oh, no, Ghislaine's got nothing to do with Mossad. And Whitney Webb, the journalist, kept posting evidence and, you know, just got attacked. It's, if you can't prove your facts, attack the messenger. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I think we got up to like 150 people at one point, which is a huge record for me. I'm sure there'll be some backlash from this. Probably tomorrow I'll get a post out and I'll have all of the links and everything at burners.me. But really appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.